And I think we're live. So it's Wednesday. It's time for the Wednesday Interconnect. I have my adoring wife with me, long-suffering though she is, Linda, tonight, who's agreed to be on. We have another couple of guests with us who I will bring onto the screen. We have our backup couple here, Pete and Dan, out there in the wilds of Zebra, Orca.
Okay.
What is the exact name of the place where you live?
Orca, but we are right next to zebras, yeah. And zebras was named because someone decided to try and breed zebras in the area, which is quite cool. I like it. I still think it's fab. So there you go.
You never expect to find zebras and orcas in the middle of Portugal.
No, Orca is not named for that reason. Orca's got a much more dark history, which I really like. So it's Orca was originally Força. So it was the last place that people were hung in Portugal, and they dropped the F to try and make it sound
nice.
Which I think is awesome as well. So there you go. Anyway, I know you've got more people to introduce, so we're
going to bring onto the screen the marvelous Mark Stoll, who is also heavily embedded in the culture of Portugal and his local village, which we're going to talk about tonight, and I have a few photographs and pictures and stuff. So how you doing, Mark? Tell us an intro about how you got here and why you're here, really, what you're doing.
Yeah, good evening. So I've now lived in Portugal for 2.5 years, and that time has absolutely flown by. And a little bit of my background, I had various careers and various bits and pieces there. Ultimately wanted a complete change, and the draw was Portugal. I was very much almost a dart in the atlas. Where did it land? Just so happened to be in Portugal. Once I realised Portugal was the place I wanted to be, I drew a line from north to south, east to west, and smack bang in the middle is a place called Vila de Rei. And I actually live maybe about 30 kilometres due east of Vila de Rei. So that's very much how I got there.
So kind of for those who haven't been out there, what are we talking about as far as terrain, countryside, and main industry? Agriculture is presumably is king out there.
Yeah, so I live in a small village called Sobreira Famosa. I say small; it's one of sort of the larger villages in the area, and my biggest town is Proença Nova, which is about 5-6 kilometres away, and I'm also maybe 35 kilometres from Castelo Branco as well. So I am pretty much smack bang in the middle of the country. As for terrain and so forth, it's undulating. We've got our fair share of hills, we've got our fair share of rivers, we've got our fair share of forest area, and we've also got a fair share of agriculture and so forth. And yet, agriculture, forestry, olives and wine are really sort of the main sort of things that the locals tend to work with. However, Proença Nova as a town is actually quite a fast growing town. It's very ambitious. And they actually host one of the very few unicorn businesses from Portugal, and the company that is based in Proença is one of the key people who make all of the software for the apps that you use on your phone. Who would have known that a small village, a small town in the middle of Portugal would be hosting one of the a company like that is now actually headquartered over in the States. So, but in addition to that, they are very progressive. We've got lots of, they're attracting quite a lot of good business to the actual area, which is obviously good to bring younger people back into the, sort of this particular area, which I know all villages towns across central Portugal actually find that there's a greater number of people moving out to the big cities rather than sort of coming back in. So,
well, actually, Lee posted me a little post a couple of weeks ago about incentives to bring younger people back. So I'm just going to say hi to Lee. I'm just going to unmute him if I've got him muted up.
Okay.
How you doing? How you doing, Lee?
Evening, mate.
Under control by the looks of it.
Yeah. Pardon? Sorry, again. What's that?
It looks like you're under trial control by the looks of it.
Yeah, she just woke up. She's had a kip.
Right.
She's not been well this week.
Ah, Evie, surely one of the most beautiful children in Portugal.
That's just not just Portugal. Come on. Come on.
And I think you've
Don't be shy about it.
got to give a full screen. Hang on, here we go.
She's not. She won't look at you now. She'll refuse.
Oh, Evie.
I don't know.
Tell Gary to go away. Say, Gary, go away.
No, go away.
No.
She's growing so fast.
Cool.
Oh yes. Yeah. Yeah. It's a
So I bet
nightmare.
you've had a bit of a busy week, Lee, with all the storm damage and stuff.
Oh, it's been a cracker, Gary. Yeah, been excellent. As you know, I luckily flew out to Scotland the day of the storm, so we kind of missed it all. But work-wise, it's been non-stop since.
Yeah.
I'm doing my normal maintenance job and then picking up extra tree work afterwards, and yeah, been cracking.
Busy.
Yeah.
I mean, do you ever stretch out this way? I know you've done a job for Jason with his.
No,
rig.
I didn't do a job for Jason. Went up for a weekend and just played around and drank too much.
But if somebody wanted a job done, a fairly big job, would you be interested going this far out?
No, don't need to.
Where's your limits as far as Lisbon is concerned? How far do you go out from there?
I was in Palmella today, which is almost doable. But they're special customers, Tim and Paul. Like, baby, I'm on the phone. Go away. Go. Look, you're there. Everyone can see you. Okay. I was over in Palmella today, which is probably my furthest customer, but it's two guys that I like, so I only took the job on because I like them.
Yeah.
Well, that's quite exciting, actually. We've got bees now. I'm a beekeeper.
Oh yes,
Right.
we were talking about this in the man cave the other night. Very good, tell the story of the bees because I think it's quite interesting.
I suppose it goes back to what you were saying when you started this podcast. It's about meeting people and getting out there in the community.
Yeah.
And the two guys and Carl H, the real estate guy, they were both talking about getting bees at the same time. It just come up in conversation.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, I'll make some inquiries. I'm always bumping into people. Funny enough, the guy in my cafe who keeps bees.
Right.
So I got chatting to him, and the first swarm became available last week. So we went to collect it, and they're living happily in Palmella.
Right.
The moon-
And
How
looks
long will
like
they sort of
fruit
take
there
to
as
produce
well.
honey? And how long will that be?
Well, it really varies apparently.
All right.
But they've gone from a balcony in Benfica
Yeah.
to a nice garden in Palmella where they should be really happy. And the guy's expecting sort of 90 jars per hive. And he reckons we can do 2 to 3 harvests a year, depending on the weather.
Wow, I didn't know. I thought it was one harvest a year and that was it.
Well, no, I think it depends on the environment they're in.
Yeah.
So at Tim and Paul's, it's just lush. It's an orchard that's got water on it constantly. So there's always wildflowers. There's always trees. It's a really big variation of everything from vines to orange and lemon trees.
Yeah.
So there's always some. Oh, and olive trees behind.
Right.
Where at Carl's, it'll be more of an urban setting. So we'll probably get less off them. So it really depends.
It depends what they're feeding on as well, isn't it? Because you have bees that feed on rosemary, you can taste it in the honey, or eucalyptus or whatever. It goes through to the honey, which is good. It's great.
Well, he did say that with the pine forest being behind Carl's, it'll have a very distinctive taste.
Yes.
But when I had the place in Scotland, we were on a site of scientific interest,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a real ancient bog. So it had a lot of old, mature scrub, like juniper on it and stuff like that.
Wow.
And the reason the guy was interested in putting bees in the garden was access to the scrub. He
Right.
said it's a very unique Scottish blend of honey that comes off it. You know, so yeah, it really depends where they are.
Yeah, well, honey's really good for your local area. If you've got like any hay fever or any other kind of complaints, if you get honey that's actually local to you, it helps essentially make your immune system cope with any local allergies. So the more local you get the honey, the better. So I think it's
good tip.
a really cool thing to have. And yeah, great honeybees are blooming awesome to have, definitely.
Well, we put them in last Tuesday night. And this weekend I was working around near the hive. I mean, within like 5-6 meters of it. Didn't bother me at all. Didn't come over to investigate me. Weren't interested. They were just busy working away. Yeah.
Yeah, it depends a lot on the weather as well, though. When it gets really hot, you might get a bit more bothered. So it depends on your. It's just
do you know what? Do you know what, Pete? It was a constant flow. If you look at the hive, there was never a time when there wasn't sort of 20 or 30 at the door.
Awesome.
Yeah. Baby girl, calm down. She's trying to tickle my toes and eating a chocolate biscuit.
Hello, Evie. Hello.
Sneaky now.
She's we were talking the other night. We're going to bring her up to young Ben's dinner,
right?
Because Sandra's mum's not feeling very well, and we've been away for 4 days, so we can't rely on babysitters like we did. So, bring the baby with us. Are you coming up, Peter, for that?
We were going to, but unfortunately enough, I've had something else come up. So we're. It's very bad, but I'm going to Porto wine tasting with Jamie and Max. So
it's a nightmare for you.
It's just an awful thing. It's going to be really terrible.
It's a nightmare.
It's a nightmare. And I take the car so Di's left with the tractor if she needs to make an escape anywhere, which will be fun. It should be good.
I'm just going to enjoy the peace and quiet and watch whatever I want on television without him turning it off.
Yes, but no, it should be a laugh, that definitely. So I'm expecting Jamie to be less of a lightweight than last time I took him out with you. Do you remember we went out for lunch that time and we went on to a gig afterwards? He was so tanked. Honestly, he's got to work on his confidence.
He was tanked. He was tanked after lunch. I went back to work.
We're talking about wine and alcohol. I'm going to come back to Mark because I know, because I've tasted this wine and it's not bad at all. You haven't been doing it for long, and the bottle you gave me was very acceptable. But I think this last harvest there was a bit of a problem with the mold or whatever we call it. Which the name escapes me. The trouble you have with it. How did that go?
Yeah, so 2 years ago I made wine. So I've got best part of 1,200 vines and quite a few grapes. I've never made wine before. I've never owned a vine before, but I've purchased a Horta, a Quinta, which is about 2 kilometers away from where I actually live, and it already had a vineyard there. So I made 350 liters of Vino Tinto. So that's 2 years ago, and it's a very I like it. That's the main thing. But equally, I've had pretty good feedback from a lot of different people. Some people not so much, but wine is very much down to the individual taste and that. Last year, we were the crop was hit with a bit too much mildew, and therefore, the majority of the crop was actually lost. But it was also not only mine, an awful lot of people within the local area actually had similar problems.
Right.
And there's particular grapes. So my grape is Touriga Nacional, and that particular grape is normally grown further north. And because it's come this little bit further south, then pretty much most people who grew that this year or grow that actually had problems last year. So one of my local growers, they normally generate around about 120,000 litres of that with that particular grape. Last year they were half that, down to 60,000 litres. So
can we expect the price of wine to go up this year because it's scarce, do you think?
I don't think so, because sort of other grapes have actually sort of continued. I think it's very much local to this particular area, and the temperament of the weather as well. So if you remember, we actually had a couple of really wet weeks, and the temperature dropped. And really, what you actually want is the temperature to rise quickly in order to get the water evaporating, but it was just that little bit too damp. And as I said, I'm trying my hardest to do everything organically, and the impact of that was mildew. So you live and learn, don't you? First year great, second year I've learned a lot, and hopefully this year already the vines are looking really good. They're the last week with the sun that we've had, boy, they have absolutely shot, as I'm sure Lee's nodding. So it's incredible how much difference that 7 to 10 days of sun has actually made, and obviously a bit of rain today means that I'm not having to water today.
It's really good, isn't it? Yeah.
We're forming a picture now. We're forming a picture. You've got your little place out there in the community. You're starting to produce a bit of wine, which I do believe you showed to the local cafe restaurant, and they were quite interested. But also you've been you're quite into. I mean, all the posts you put up. I must thank you for all the little adverts for all the festivals and stuff. It's great. Keep it up, because that's really what we're about. But you've gone a step further. You've gone literally into a sort of territory which probably not any of us know. This game that you've got involved in. And how did we say it? Malia?
Yeah, so Malia is the game, but I think if you're allowing me, I maybe just to give a little bit more of a background as to how I've got involved in the village, because without that, then I wouldn't really have sort of got to where I've got to. So, as I said, I moved to Portugal back 2.5 years ago. I moved to where I live now just over 2 years ago. And my situation is maybe different to all of yourselves, in that I own a house in the village, so I'm able to walk to the cafe, the bars, the restaurant, the health centre, the pharmacy, and everything like that. And then I've got a plot of land which is actually outside, so I still have a feeling where I get up in the morning, I go to work, I work on the land, I come home for lunch, and if I want to go back and do a little bit of work in the afternoon, I can. For me, that suits me, and that's absolutely, that's the way that it is. But because I live in the village, then I find that it's been quite easy to actually go out and go to the various places. There's a big difference between going to a bar and actually integrating with the locals.
Yes.
And I've got, football is one of my loves. And therefore, what I did was actually identify which bars actually play, put football on the TV. And after about 6 months, me going in and watching pretty much every Sporting Portugal game, every Benfica game, and increasingly Premier League games. No Tottenham, Pete, though, sorry.
I wasn't watching this season much either, to be fair. It's not been great. Maybe in Europe we'll be all right, but other than that, yeah, I agree. It's not been a great fair to go and see. But I'm convinced my locals put Spurs on once or twice, so it's still not been great viewing. So I'll forgive you that one. Saying that, West Ham still aren't doing great either. So.
No, not at all. So basically, I was going in and having a beer, 2 or 3 times a week, predominantly to be able to go in and watch football. And it meant, I could easily have watched football at home, but I wanted to get out, I wanted to integrate, and indeed, sort of have a beer, have a glass of wine, wine, and increasingly, sort of meet more and more people. So really sort of from there were a small nucleus of people who always, they always saw me watching the football, started coming over, having a chat, and really sort of it went from there. So what I then did was I actually joined our local sports and social club, just became a member. You pay your €12, and you're a member, which basically means that you just get the occasional WhatsApp that comes through. This event's going on, that event's going on.
It's not great, is it, Mark? Bloody hell! I'm a member of the association and of the Festa committee, and I must admit I get at least 3 mails a day, and they come up with an event pretty much every other week, right? I think it's a lot more kind of. I think Portugal's got, especially in village life, you've got a lot more activity than you'd think, especially if you're wandering through a village. Do you know what I mean? There's a lot going on. I think you're underestimating it by saying, "Oh yeah, once a month or something." It comes up quite a lot more than that.
Does here,
yeah. So I think it does depend on the village you're in, and it depends a lot on their attitude to estrangeros. But I think we're quite lucky being in the area we're in, that, to be honest, people are pretty welcoming, and partly because of exactly what you said, they need younger people coming in. The average age of some of the villages is quite old. In both our regions, well, we're in pretty much the same sort of area, so it's kind of I think you do need to attract younger people, and there's some brilliant events going on. We've got our tractor T-shirts are being made for us as we speak.
Got a tractor parade in 2 or 3 weeks' time.
Yeah, and
then got to decorate the tractors.
Easter meal. Good,
yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I've got a question for you here. Do you spray your vines with sulfur powder?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
That's presumably to keep the mold down and the rot. So Got a comment here. Usually in April, you'll experience heavy rain with thunderstorms. In Portuguese, we say Abril, Agosto de Mil. In May, the weather should start improving. What, a month of 1,000 rains, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do you know what's interesting though? I was chatting to the mayor's son today. He was round doing some work, and he was saying the one thing that's happened recently, and I don't know if Lee would agree, because he's been here probably the longest out of all of us, as well as you, Gary, is that summers are getting a bit earlier. So we've had that kind of week of warmth that we just had, that week of sun. He was saying they wouldn't usually have had before. So I suppose it depends very much on your local area, because but here he's saying it's coming a bit earlier and they're a bit more kind of consistent. But it should be a good year, Mark. I think you're in for a really good one. If we've had last time we had rain this early, our
mulberry tree produced like mad.
Oh, I'm hoping that'll happen
we're
again.
hoping that's going to happen this year.
Yeah, but hopefully with the grapes, I think you should be all right.
So Elisa is saying Mark is fully integrated, being part of the Football Association, but I think he's gone a step further. He's gone just that little bit further, because this is Mark we're talking about. This man knows no bounds. So let's go on to the main event, because I'm going to put up a few photos and maybe you can tell me what's happening here. So
I think this game is awesome.
They may come out in the wrong order because it's
difficult. That's absolutely fine. So basically, in joining the Sports and Social Club, then what I did was I actually got involved with Malia, which is a local game which is played across almost all of the villages locally. Often, it's something that is added in as an event in the Festa. So most people associate the Festa with parties late until the night and lots of drinking, but the Festas hours and all the ones I've been to, there's events going on all day on the Saturday, all day on the Sunday. A lot of it is geared towards families, children, and so forth. And one area is the actual Malia. So Malia is really sort of a game that if you go through translation, Google and so forth, then it actually comes up as a knitting tournament. Trust me, it's got nothing to do with knitting at all. But basically what you have is a court which is 20 meters long. It's played on rough terrain, as you can sort of see there, sort of sandy, gritty terrain. And what you have is the actual wooden pins you can see there, which are around about 6 inches in height, and they're actually called bellows, or some places actually call them a mecco. And basically you have one of those at each end, and 20 meters apart. You play in pairs against another pair. So one person stands at one end, one person stands at the other. And the objective is to actually throw the mesh, which is that small disc that you can see there, actually at the pin. So in America, often you know the game sort of horseshoes. French, it's a little bit like pétanque, boules. And in Brazil, they play something called shuffleboard, which is a variation of it where you actually tend to slide the mesh rather than actually throw it. Okay. So the intention is for you to actually knock the pin down. And
so we're trying to knock this pin out, really.
Absolutely, yeah.
Is that an instant win if you do that?
No, so basically, again, different villages play to slightly different rules. The village that I play, you have to get 30 points. So if you actually hit the pin and knock it down, you get 3 points. If you get to the pin and you don't knock it down, you get 2 points. So if it's actually touching, and then the closest to the pin is 1 point. And so some people, they play for 30 points, others play for 60, and there's 6 points and 3 points. So even literally within the variation of 2 villages, maybe 3 or 4 kilometers apart, they actually play slightly different rules.
Okay.
Can I just check? You said 20 meters apart.
Yeah.
So you've got to throw this disc, whatever it is, 20 meters and hit a pin.
Yeah.
That's a long distance for an old boy to throw a disc.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, anything.
And that disc it's around 700 grams as well. So it's not a light disc. And after the first time of playing, boy, did my shoulder hurt. But you know, again, different villages will have slightly different rules. So some will play over a slightly shorter distance, but typically it's between sort of 15 and 25 meters.
Yeah, 5 meter one that's 5 meters and right next to a bar.
The great thing about this game, we could probably play this virtually anywhere. You just need 20 meters of space, really, by the sound of it. So anybody could do this.
Absolutely, yeah. So I actually just played it. They a couple of the guys, they sort of said, "Oh, we're gonna have a practice on a Sunday morning, and do you want to come along?" And after we've had a play, then we're going to have a beer. So yeah, let's go and do that. No problems whatsoever. But I then was invited to participate in a tournament. It was an inter-village tournament almost, and there were around about 100 teams involved. It was a really, really big one, and first game we lost, and that was it. That was a good day. That was the day over. But every single team that participated, after we'd had the meal at lunchtime, then every single team won a prize. So walk home with a bottle of wine, which is absolutely superb. So it really makes a full day of it. And then from there, I think I've now played in 5 or 6 tournaments. But what we're hoping for this year is for every one evening a week for us to actually just really have an open house where we're able to invite anybody that wants to come along, participate, play. It's not really competitive. It's more about trying to get things happening within the village. That is something that's on a regular basis, and again, just really sort of attract some of the, dare I say it, some of the younger people.
Well, I've just noticed this is quite an age range of people here, right? We got just shuffling through these pictures, yeah.
Yep.
The slightly bald guy there is obviously approaching sort of middle age.
Yeah. Sorry, just go back one sec with regards to the bald guys approaching middle age. So that guy's actually Kingy. He's the manager of the vineyard that produces best part of 250,000 litres a year. So he's a really good guy to know.
We're talking about this guy. We must know this guy.
Yeah.
Okay. And there's obviously beer involved or wine during this competition because it's Thursday work, obviously.
Yep.
So we got that guy there. We've got a slightly older guy here.
Yeah.
And always nice to see a youngster out there doing this stuff.
Yeah,
And this old geezer really looks well past it. It shouldn't really be tarnished.
absolutely.
But however, it looks like he may have been reasonably successful.
We did, yeah. So in our the tournament within our festa, myself and Paul, we came fourth. Yeah, you know, the two Englishmen, all of a sudden, you know, sort of were in, and we were actually into the semi-finals. We lost, you know, the semi-final, and we also lost the runners-up. But again, you know, it's just great to get involved, and you know, it's about the participation rather than, you know, obviously the winning and that. So
it looks really fun. We've seen it played in the village right next to us.
Along, yeah.
And yeah, it looks really good fun, but I didn't have the guts to go up and play it, so I have to give it a go. You have to give me some tips, Mark. Sounds it'd be really interesting to play. It looks really good fun, definitely. So, and well worth doing, and really nice to see you integrate with the village as well, because it really helps you Portuguese. You know, it's great to just be out with people, and you pick things up, don't you? You pick a lot more up when you're drunk and with a load of people. So, and when there's a meal and a t-shirt involved, which usually happens for most events, doesn't it? So.
Absolutely, yeah. You know, I have perfect Portuguese after half a dozen beers. It's brilliant. But you know, again, obviously the Malia was perhaps one of my first introductions. But then, you know, like yourself, Pete and Diane, you know, I've also volunteered at the festa. I ended up volunteering at 4 festas in the end last year. And you know, the main one that we actually run here is actually a 4-day festa.
Yeah, same as ours.
Well, yeah, and then there's another 2 villages that are associated with our village that also have 4-day festas. So yeah, it's the same sort of thing. So, but it takes up most of your summer, doesn't it? It's really good fun. They're brilliant, and I think working at it is even better than going, to be honest, because you just have a lot of laughs, and obviously you get a t-shirt and as much as you can drink, and more than you could possibly ever eat, and have a really good time. It's a really good thing to do. So I reckon it's fantastic, and well done for getting involved in 3, mate. That's really impressive. So, So well done.
And this year, so we've I think I posted the information on the Conqueros Festa. So Conqueros they class themselves as the most electronic village in Portugal. So they actually have a techno night on the Friday night. They've asked if I'll go along and you know, help one night with them. And Proença, which is our biggest one in the area, it looks as though our local sports and social club are going to have a stall there. So again, I'll chip in and sort of give them a hand. But as you say, Pete, you know, it's not, you know, the festas tend to be one of the largest factors, you know, one of the largest events within the village. But in addition to that, you know, I've helped at Fado, Sardine Festival,
everything. There's
Christmas party, the Malia. You know, we had a theatre night 2 weeks ago. We also had a rock night last year. So there's an immense amount going on, and those, as you say, those are just the things that are organised by one of the associations. In addition to that, with the council, they also run what they call the adult university. That people can go along for 10 weekly sessions doing photographic, creative writing. Indeed, you can do knitting there, embroidery, crochet, and all of those sorts of things. We've also got a small museum in the village. And today, all of a sudden, there's this great big coach coming through the village. And I'm thinking, you know, what's the coach coming through? And lo and behold, they were going and having a tour of the actual local museum. So there's all this activity that's going on. And it is good. And I think the other thing, or the final thing, sort of, before anybody's got any other questions, a lot of people turn around and say, "Oh, we only hear about these events once they've actually happened," and that may be the case. That you know, because the Portuguese aren't great marketeers, which I love the fact about that. Because if they were commercially doing everything and really pumping it, then I think it takes a lot of that that flavour away from sort of the events that are going on. So what I tried to do is to actually think like the locals do, and they are all involved in their local sports association or their festa committee and so forth. So they know firstly by word of mouth. And secondly, I've joined almost every single association's Facebook that I can find. And again, every single one, they are pumping stuff out left, right and centre. But you have to go and find that first piece of information, because people aren't going to deliver it to you on a plate that, coming from the UK, you expect people to be ramming it down your throat because it's all about the marketing, and that just doesn't happen here. I think it's nice on one side, but equally, there are a few events that I've not managed to get to because I haven't heard, and that's part of the reason why I'm more than happy to just sort of keep circulating, posting, that sort of thing. So
it's a lot to do with.
There's a bull one every year just up the river from outside of Lisbon, only 20 minutes away in Villa Franca. So they have the running of the bulls up the high street.
Yep.
If you don't live in Villa Franca, you don't know what's happening.
Yeah.
They don't advertise it anywhere in the city, on the trains. Like in England, it would be everywhere. It'd be on the national news. It would be on the local news. It's not. It's a couple of billboards in Villa Franca, and that's it.
But it's with you should know, because everyone's been going to these events for years, right? Yeah, I mean,
we do have posters in the village.
Yeah, by the bank, you might see something by the bank. Yeah. But on the whole, because everyone's been going to them for years, they say, "Oh, well, you should know it's the
second weekend in February." Yeah,
or it's the cheese festa this week. It's kind of something that actually we can all do quite a lot to. Especially with Facebook, I think you can actually get to a lot more.
I can help now. There's an event going on near where I live right now. Benfica are playing. I can see the floodlights on at the stadium.
Well, that's partially the reason for doing what we do now, because if you hear an event or something like
Benfica, just there.
It's just about if wherever you are in the country, it doesn't have to be central Portugal. Tell us, because you might want a weekend out or something, or you might go to somewhere else, and you guys might want to come here. And I know you've got that sort of plan, Lee. You're going to do it sooner or later and have one of the beer festas, or end up in Marktown or something. It's got to be good. It's got to be a good thing to have that, that mix. Because I think in a town, in a city, you're going to have those big festas, aren't you? You're going to have those big events. But when you come out to here, it's very, very different sort of thing. Yeah. And Lisa, who is Portuguese, got a question. She said, "What do you guys think about our festas?" If I remember correctly, little villages in the north always have something going on. It's all about community gathering with families and friends. And I think that's perfectly true, and that's what I like. That's what I like about the smaller festas.
It's a lot smaller scale, but it doesn't mean it's any less enjoyable. Do you know what I mean? In lots of ways, it's a lot more fun because you always see the same people. And Mark won't be able to walk through the village without people saying hello to him or bumping into people he knows every second. Yeah, it happens all the time, and that's the way to integrate. And most villages are really, really. I think it's a lot easier to get to know people regularly that you're going to see all the time in a village than Lee's done it in his community. But I think your community is probably a little bit different from a lot of other ones in Lisbon, to be honest, as well, Lee. I think
it's very working class where I live, and people have been here. Exactly. People have been here 25 years plus, and they're not considered locals. But I think I've done quite well since COVID. I made the effort on the street, what I didn't do before. So. But the village where we had the babies' party in Amiage,
that was lovely.
They do a big festa. They do a big festa every year. Well, they do two. They do two good ones, but the one we've just had is fantastic. Just a 4-day binge, really, with brass bands and a bit religious ceremony, pulling things through the street. It's my 4th, 5th year there, visiting, and people are recognising me this year and coming over saying hello. I don't even live there. I just go for the I just go for the weekends occasionally.
Did they say you were the guy who was hanging naked from the lamppost?
No, I think because Sandra's extended family are well known there.
Yeah.
I've been to a lot of dinners and lunches where I've met various people that I don't recognise. Who, obviously, being English and 6'2", I stand above the crowd, so they all know I'm on the street.
We've got a late football score from Eric coming in.
Is it about Benfica?
Yeah, Benfica are 2-0 up at the moment.
Well, I knew football was on tonight because the police convoy passed me on the way home from work, taking the opposition's coaching. So I knew they were playing.
Right, time has scooted on, so we're about how far.
Yes, I'm going to say good night because Sandra's just
Well, I'm just
getting dinner on the table.
Just give me 5 more minutes if I can, because I'm going to use your link that you gave me. If you have to go, Leo, I understand. But
what's this for?
That one about payments to move to Portugal.
Oh yeah, the interesting bit of that is the business development link, the business development fund they've got.
Yes.
So if you, I think it's specifically aimed at young couples who want to set up something in different areas. But it seems quite well funded and it seems quite positive. Baby girl, go and see mummy. Go on, stop shouting her. Go and speak to her.
Right. Can everybody see that? Because I don't know whether you can. This is completely experimental. Can anybody see that?
Yeah. Well done,
Right.
Gary.
So, there are certain incentives to move to central Portugal, obviously, because we need people here, and especially young people. And it's quite an interesting article to read through. I mean, there are other places in Europe, Spain, Sardinia, etc., where they will pay you to actually come. So there is a kind of an incentive to move to rural Portugal, and a few sort of short takes from this is you can get a base grant of 20% plus for each family member, up to 1,316, up to 878 for moving costs, up to 878 for transporting your stuff. Yeah, it does sound rather good. Yeah, but you need a few things to qualify. You need to get a local job, or become self-employed, or start a business. Actually move there within 180 days of starting work, or apply within 90 days of signing your employment contract. But here is the good thing. The digital nomad thing applies. So if you've got an online business, that qualifies as well, which I think is a strikingly good idea. But if you're under 35, it gets even better. The government guarantees you 15% of your mortgage, and the banks can finance up to 100% of your property. And I know that's really quite difficult sometimes in Portugal, mortgages and stuff. It can be a bit tricky. But if you have a younger person, and God, I would love to have come here when I was 35. I really would have done, but that was never going to happen for me. But only one partner needs to be under 35, so that's pretty good.
Those two guys.
So you're considering there's a lot of incentives there really to move to central Portugal.
I think there were also, I don't know if it's in that actual thread I sent you, but there was some further information about education as well.
Yeah.
So depending on your qualifications, you could get more money. So if you went over as a, I don't know, let's say qualified tree surgeon, or I don't know, some qualification in agriculture, you got even like a cushier, a better payment scheme. I've only briefly looked at it because I've got a mate that's moved over, who's moved up towards Coimbra, and I thought it would be interesting for him. So I had a quick glance at it, sent it to him, and then obviously sent it to you because I thought it's something you might want to bring up in this chat.
Great,
thanks, Lee. Awesome of you, man. Thanks a lot.
But you've still got to go through the D7 visa process, and you've got to have a passive income of 870 euros per individual.
Well, that's only minimum wage.
Yeah.
When you start a business here, you pay tax immediately on your first month.
Yeah.
So they're expecting you to be making a minimum wage on your first month of trading, which is just ridiculous. Especially if you're starting something like I did, where I was paying tax before I was making money. you know.
Well, yeah, I mean, it is quite a high taxed sort of setup, but you know,
Yeah, but you got that 20% which you just showed on there that you can have. I mean, something we've got, and I know 2 people. I'm going out with 2 people that started their businesses over here under 35, and I do think it's a really. There are lots of success stories out here. It's not impossible to do. Is what I'd go with, and I think you're dead right, Lee. It's really nice to put something up there, especially about housing compared to anywhere else in Europe. Your housing costs not only are going to be a lot less, but if the bank's going to 450 grand would get you a lot of house.
wouldn't it just?
Get you a hell of a lot if you go up some where you are or where Gary was. Yeah. That's a hell of a property.
That is a hell of a property for a couple to come over compared to other countries that are aren't similar. I think
there's obviously you obviously tied in for a certain amount of time, and you know they're expecting a certain amount of tax back on it. So they're not giving money away, but it's interesting to look at. And I think if anyone's, I know we struggled when we started the business to build a business. Once we got going, it was easy, but that kind of money must really help.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah. Well, if you were a digital nomad and we could have settled anywhere with our business, it's quite attractive, I think, especially given what you get and the kind of quality of life that you get, which Mark's a really good example of. So you, Lee, and I think Gary is as well. You know, and especially if you're younger.
Oh, don't put me in the same category as you lot. You all moved here for the sun and the community and the better lifestyle. I moved here because I met a girl and she wanted to move to England. That's the only reason I'm here. I was in Scotland last week trying to convince her to move there.
Oh,
I'm not here for the sun and the community.
Yeah, you're not here for the sun if you like Scotland that much. Scotland's lovely, but my God, no sun. I don't think I could cope.
I'd have stayed last week. If she'd have given me the nod, I'd have stayed and flew the baby over.
It's a stunningly beautiful place, but like you say, that's only probably about 6 times a year if you look at it.
You seem to have gone for the only 3 days of Scottish summer, but I'm not.
We had blue skies the morning we were leaving. I saw blue sky. I didn't see the sun. I saw some blue skies on.
Well,
okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna leave you to it. I've got dinners ready.
Right,
so
thanks for popping in, mate. Thanks a lot.
Okay. Good night, everyone. Nice to see everybody. Bye bye.
And with that, what we've just discussed there, I mean, I don't know whether you've heard this from people, Mark. You know, I've asked around here and the locals about how they feel about estrangeiros coming into the area, because when you look at places like Lisbon and the Algarve, the impact of so many people coming in so quick has changed the dynamic, and now you're beginning to see a little kickback from that. But here, I've lost count of the number of times that people have said to me, "We want you here. You know, we need you here because if you come here and farm, you know, the community will love you for it," and they do. As soon as you start planting things and you become a little bit of a farmer, then they'll come and talk to you and maybe give a few tips or give a few plants or whatever. And it is just a joyous thing. And I think that's the way we've got to go. We've got to go out into the less populated region, the sparser regions, and do your model. And instead of just being a Brit on my little island farming, get into the community like yourself, Pete, get involved, and it just gets an extra level, doesn't it? It just makes it so much more.
Yeah, but then I think Mark's a bit of an exception. Hopefully I'd categorise us amongst that as well, in terms of there's a lot of estrangeiros that come over that don't listen to the local people in terms of how to farm, right? Or how to manage their local environment. It's sometimes quite bizarre how people spend a fortune on stuff that is never going to work because they don't just talk to local people. And I know there's that language barrier, and it's much more of a language barrier where all 3 of us are than it would be in Lisbon, where virtually everyone speaks English. But it's worth making that effort, especially when it comes to planting, and what to plant when, because it varies a lot in your local area. Unless you speak to someone that's really local, you're gonna waste a lot of time and money, I'd say. So I think it's well worth integrating for that reason as well, to manage and run something properly, which is a real joy. I'm sure Mark would testify to the fact that he gets more satisfaction from working on the farm than any job he did in England. I'm not saying it blanketly, but I think you probably do, and we certainly do from being caretakers of the land here. It's a lovely thing to have. And Gary, you do exactly the same thing. You're up working and planting stuff all the time. It's a really nice thing to be able to do, especially in your other property as well, which is very cool, I have to admit. It's really nice.
I've still got to plant a bit more there, Pete. It's still under development, that one. Still,
we're all learning all the time, aren't we? And that's the whole thing. As long as you come in with the attitude of learning rather than thinking you know how to do everything, I think it makes a big difference. But it's surprising how few people learn from people that have been doing it for years, so and come in with attitudes that they know everything by doing a couple of weeks of a course. They think they know exactly how to do it. So I think Mark's a really good example of someone that's integrated and learned from the people locally, which is the way to do it, as far as I'm
just going to do a couple of comments. We've got Simon here and Fiona. Testament to the strength of the people and the importance of community bonds. Couldn't agree more. Absolutely. And here's a guy we haven't heard from. Raf, how you doing, Raf? I hope you're well. Hope it's all good. If you've got any events or anything in your area, please post them up on the site, or you can come on here and tell us about them, because I'm sure Braga has got just as many as anywhere else. We've got another one here. Thanks for the article. Looks helpful. Well, yeah, I think it was. And Elisa, ciao, beautiful people. Bedtime for me, because I know she's a hard worker. So sweet dreams and all that, and start another day tomorrow. So yeah, it's been an informative little show. We've done a little bit of a journey to the centre and how to integrate and how to get the best from things, really. I mean, it is very different out here. I won't lie. You've got to try and use the language. It's never going to be easy if you don't want to speak Portuguese. But it's what I always call real Portugal. It's what my version of real Portugal. But on a wider scope, I would love to hear from different regions. I would love to hear from the Algarve. I would love to hear what life is like down there. I would love to hear from other parts of the country up north. That's fine. Talking of which, Bob and Viv are normally with us. I've just spent a couple of days with Bob and Viv. They visited here during central Portugal. I had such a great time with them. Lovely, lovely people. And I think they're quite impressed. They said they were quite impressed with around here.
They would like to move, I think.
Because it's central, and you're not very far away from things, are you? You're not very far away from Tamar here. You're not very far away from the coast. You're not very far away from the Estrella Mountains, Coimbra, both the airports. So it's that central position. It's a good thing to have. It's a nice thing to have. And obviously, if you want to go to Spain, it's not that far either. So that's from my point of view. I think they've had a good time, and it was lovely spending time with them. Really, really was. So they're out there touring now. They're hitting the trail.
Fatima, I think they're
in Fatima now at the moment.
Yeah.
So that's why they're not here tonight. But they should be back with us fairly soon. So that's nice. Any kind of last thoughts before we wrap up, because we're heading towards the hour very shortly. Pete, anything? And what's gone in the garden? Do you say? What are you growing?
Oh my God! So at the moment, we've got loads of stuff already planted out. So I've got like tons of onions and beetroot and cabbage and Brussels sprouts and peanuts. I'm quite excited with peanuts, right? So this is my first year with.
We forgot about them.
Yeah, I totally forgot about them. Someone came along and pointed them out, which is good because I would have weeded them
really well.
And then we've got what else? We've got loads of peppers,
potatoes and carrots.
Tons of potatoes. Carrots are nearly ready to pull. So we've got those to come out. But yeah, we've got most of the food that we grow is so much nicer. Digging up your breakfast is a lovely thing to do, I reckon, for me anyway. So going out and digging up spuds and carrots and stuff, having them roasted for breakfast is awesome, right? And just they do taste different. Really fresh vegetables straight from your own garden do taste a lot different. And there are ways of farming out here. We're really lucky. We can get like a big trailer load of manure for about €150, and we've been digging that in, and we've got a whole load of wicking beds, so the water seeps up. So it's kind of you don't have to water them as much, especially during the summer. And the stuff, just the growing season here, if anyone really is into agriculture, is so much longer. You get such a long time to grow any plant, and you can grow just the fact that we can all grow citrus here really well. But depending on the region you're in, you can grow all sorts of different things. So it's incredible, and each region will be incredibly different in terms of what you can do. I can't grow mangoes outside here, but where Lee was talking about with the farm with the two guys there, they can. The difference in the sun, we couldn't really, our cherries wouldn't be as good as the ones up on the Gardenia, just because of the kind of frost and cooler weather you get. So there's an amazing array of kind of landscapes and ecosystems in central Portugal, just the same as there are all the way across Portugal. But it's amazing when you think about like the height and temperature differences, all between places that are really pretty local.
I mean, the cherry blossoms are coming out now. Started to come out.
That's going to be beautiful, isn't it? That's going to be amazing.
Yeah, it's lovely. It's really nice. But I mean, as Mark's region is going to be totally different. But what amazes me is how different a farm a kilometre away from me can be to mine in terms of what we can grow and what kind of landscape you have. But it's just having the space, time, and I think, as you've all pointed out, but particularly Mark, the community around you is just incredibly lovely. It's a lovely thing to have. It's like going back in time to a time that probably didn't exist in the UK. It's kind of going back to a time where people do genuinely, I think they genuinely care about each other, and they're more than happy to help you out. And if you can get away with some rudimentary Portuguese, you do have to put your hours in. At the moment, I'm doing 7 hours a week. You're doing 6, aren't you?
Yeah.
But I reckon about 500 hours, and you're kind of all right. You can kind of get away with at least being able to understand, even if you do speak like a small child. I think you can still get away with understanding most things, and it's worth putting that effort in. I think it's more than worth it. And the community here is brilliant. It's really, really good. I'm very happy with it. So I don't know. And it looks like Mark is, and I know you are, Gary, as well. So I think we're all 3 good adverts for moving across. And my mates who did it when they were in their 30s, none of them regret coming over at that age. I think all of us probably could have done with moving a bit earlier if circumstances had allowed. But it's not something we had possibly had the option to do before. So it's one of those things. There you go.
Well, I'm coming back to Mark now, just before I let you finish up. I've just wondered if you had the same experience as I did. And we all know that the Portuguese almoço is sacred, and everything stops. But I was out in the field the other day working away, and people told we have the air raid siren here that tells you the end of the world is night and it's lunchtime. Because
it's like a zombie alert. Honestly, it really is.
She's literally just not very far away, and I'm streaming away in the garden, and there's a tap on my shoulder, and it's the old guy from across the road, Senor Francis. She's about middle 80s, right? And he goes like this. He looks at his watch. He goes, almoço. I said, mucho trabalho. I said, no, I said, almoço. And he was telling me off to go and have my lunch. And I thought that was just so lovely, how sacred the Portuguese lunch is. You do not work for your lunch. Now go and have your lunch. That's what he was telling me. But that to me, I don't know whether you've ever had that, but that is a little gem of a thing. But as far as you're concerned, any further plans, any developments, or are you just going to happily sail on down the direction that you're going?
Yeah, so I think just with regards to sort of lunch being sacred, so is no trabalho domingo. No work on Sundays.
Really?
If absolutely, if I go down to my land on Sunday, I get absolutely shot. Nobody. Again, it's different. So those people that work and only work on their land on a Saturday and Sunday, they're out working. But because my neighbours turn around that you're here during the week, not allowed to work on a Sunday. So, which again, is good for me because, if not, I would go down 6 days a week, 7 days a week, if I could. But again, for me, it's about getting that balance. And, I don't want to be working all the hours, hopefully the land is reasonably, well maintained, keeps it working, keeps it ticking over. There's peaks and there's troughs and all of that sort of thing. But again, the work element for me is just one part. For me, it is all about the community. It really is. That somebody turned around to me, a local, and he sort of turned around and said, immigrants, they come in and it's just like Christmas for them. They come here, they open their little they open their little house or their garden. It's like opening a Christmas present, and then after a while, they get bored with it, and and the same, they come into the village for the first 3 or 4 months, and then you don't see them for ages. Yeah. I was completely the opposite. I didn't really go into the village for the first 6 months. I was focusing on other things, because when I did come in, then I really wanted to make sure that I was actually in and so forth. And it's about really integrating with that community, putting yourself out. They are not going to come to you to turn around and shake your hand and invite you everywhere. You have to make that first move, and you really have to go out. Yes, they might put a few oranges in on the doorstep and that sort of thing, but really genuinely getting yourself embedded into the community. You have to get yourself out there. You have to, and for me, I have to get over the barriers that I've got, and my introversion. I just have to get out there and actually do it and do something different. So,
that's really good.
Well, you've gone feet first, and it's paid dividends for you because you made the effort. And sometimes you just got to be brave and go and do it.
Absolutely.
It's easy for him because he can speak the lingo, so he's well away. I mean, for me and Linda, it's just a whole different ball game. But
I'm liking the hair, Ben. Look, you're looking very dashing. Very cool.
Thank you. We're going it out just a little bit. In reality, I haven't had time for a haircut. That's what it is.
You're so busy, haven't you, working?
It's all right, man. It looks really good. I think you should keep
it. I'm late today. I just finished signing loads of paperwork as well.
Oh, Lord.
What a nightmare that has been.
I've got a message here. Sorry, I've got to go to Eric because I don't want to leave him out. Another great show, Gary. Can't wait to see what special guest you have next week. Love to Linda. Linda actually hasn't said anything, right?
Yeah, this is
quiet as a church mate. But I've got a question to you, right? The difference between Alvayazra and the Eagle's Nest, yeah? Why the Eagle's Nest? Because I never thought that you would ever go for a little place like that.
Right.
Sorry, Aleros. She doesn't know the Eagle's Nest, but it's why the difference? Why do you like it?
I like it because it's smaller.
Mm-hmm.
I like it because it's quirky, and it's very peaceful.
But it's miles away from anywhere. It's not really.
It's not really miles away from anywhere.
Well, just you have to walk. Not the place that I thought you would have gone for.
Well, no, I didn't think I'd go for it either. But as soon as I walked through the door, that was it.
It's definitely quirky.
It's lovely. I really like it.
Definitely quirky.
I'm totally with you. The other thing is, I had a really freaky experience. We went to Japan recently, and Tokyo is the quietest capital city I've ever been to. Right? I mean, it was nearly the same as being out here. You could be in a city with loads and loads of people, and there was absolutely no noise. But here you get so much wildlife, and it's the same way you two have got your place. You get to see sort of like eagles fly past your window, or vultures. You get so many. You get
we had a load of vultures flew right over really close yesterday. Loads of them.
Storks popping along, eating frogs and stuff. It's just lovely. You get that kind of, the views you've got from your place as well are just fabulous, as well as being really, I love how many buildings you've got on there as well. It's awesome. It's
like the sheds.
They're great.
I could do without the mice coming into the kitchen.
Well,
but...
Oh, it's good. Yeah. It's really good. I think there's stuff for everyone, but I'm with you, Linda. I think it's awesome. That place you've got is fab, and your neighbour's brilliant as well. How cool is she? She's
Well, Ben, if you want to just because we're just going to wrap up in a minute, your little event plug for the last few minutes. Tell us what it's about for any adoring.
Well, unfortunately, the signing. I've arrived back at Alvayazra at just the wrong time to do this because the signings are shut off just yesterday.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
No. I just thought you might want to throw something in there, but in case anybody drops out, anything, just.
Yeah, in case anyone drops out, there's going to be a lunch event in Coimbra on the 13th of April. It's all about traditional Portuguese cooking because so many of us come to Portugal. We have no idea where to start when it comes to the food, really. And I thought, using my background of going to culinary college here in Portugal and being British and being able to communicate it to the population, I'd try to do something that sort of encourages people to eat a bit more local and really give Portuguese food a good go.
Excellent. Actually, on one of the other shows, we had a local brewer who was talking how he matches beers up with food.
Oh, that has been a trend that's become more and more popular as well. Seeing it done in Belgium, as well. He's
only down by tomorrow, so we plan for a visit.
Anything that involves drinking beer, I'm down for.
You are. There you go.
Oh, it looks really good. That definitely, I'd be well up for that as well. I think he looked so awesome, especially the idea that you can get him to make your own brew to begin with. That might be really good, and then I'm sure we can all start making our own. It'd be nice if we could all get a couple of brews going to compete with Mark's wine. I think we need to have some beer going as well. So I'm sure
we could exchange. I could bring up a few bottles, and he could give me a bottle, and that'd be good.
We can swap beer and wine together. I think that sounds fab. And just typically alcoholic of Portuguese. Bloody hell, we got our wine cave downstairs done today. We've got to throw a big party. You lot are all going to have to come along and drink a lot and not bring any booze.
Jamie's
please.
wife started up a cleaning business, so we said you can come and clean the kitchen. And you know how many bottles of drink we got everywhere. She's been through it and she sorted all the wine out into red, rosé, white, and they're all in one side where they were scattered everywhere. She's done an amazing job.
I think we've got nearly your 350 litres downstairs already.
She disposed of a great big spider for me and a mouse.
Yeah, God, we've got to have a party soon. I will sort it out as soon as the weather's good enough to go.
We've got a friend who's going to do a pig roast, isn't he?
Yeah, we'll do it. We'll invite you all to.
Later
our
on,
mate keeps his own pigs and they're delicious, and he'll do a suckling pig or even a big one.
So he said he's going to come around here and do one. So we need to get rid of some drink.
Yeah. So you all definitely
sign me up.
We're just waiting for the weather.
Well, as soon as the weather's
it'll come. Right, we've actually gone over the hour, so I'm going to say thank you very much for all your contributions. We've learned a lot. We've learned. You ever heard of? I'm going to say it right. Malia. The game Malia.
Malia.
Yeah, Malia.
Malia means chainmail.
Is it?
Yeah.
Chain mesh.
Mesh.
Yeah.
Mesh. Yeah.
Well, if you watch this a little bit further back, Mark plays this game called Malia. Right. It's so easy because you need 20 meters of just ground. But we watch it on the next on playback. So
that sounds good.
Yeah. I mean,
it's an awesome game. It really does look fab. We've watched them play it, and it looks great watching it. But I'm sure Mark playing it looks pretty tricky actually to begin with. So, is it taking a fair few hours practice to get up to being fourth?
Fortunately, I used to play a lot of cricket. I've played a lot of sport, you see, and a lot of hand sports. So. Yeah, not quite so, but it is. It's as I said. They're typically 700 grams, so it's it's not light, and different people throw different ways. Some people throw to actually land it on top and knock it that way. Other people like me, it's more of almost like skimming it, but different way, different techniques. Whatever works for you, really. There's very few rules about it. It's about having fun and having fun. The losers always buy the winners a drink, and the more drunk you get, the worse you get. I think that's probably the reality. But it's good fun. But again, get out there, do it, have a try. That's the only way it's going to happen.
Behind that, yeah,
absolutely. And when's your next tournament in your area?
So in actual fact, there's one on Sunday, but I'm not sure I'm going to be able to do it. But pretty much, as I said, every single festa, and I'm fortunate that every single weekend from the 13th onwards, I can actually go to a festa in my local area, right through until the end of October, and almost every single one will have a Malia tournament, and the other one is the card game Sueca. Again is local, and again it's it's another thing that happens at festas. So
Yeah, that's another thing I've heard of Swecker. I cannot get my head around it for the life of me. And I do like my card games. I like my Pontoon. I like my poker. I like blackjack, but I cannot get my head around Swecker for the life of me.
I've played a few times. It's Swedish. It's a weird name to give a
It
card
is,
game.
yeah,
to begin with.
Yeah.
It's really odd, but it's it's an interesting game. It's not bad at all. Definitely, there's I love all those little nuanced things about Portugal. Are just fab. Just the same as FIFA. I love playing the raffle, and where else can you win something that's no one's wanted for years for like 10 cents, and you can be guaranteed that whoever's serving you is under 12. It's awesome. It's just a fantastic thing to go off and do. And bumper cars, Gary. Goodness me, when else are you going to get a chance to go and smash
big thongs on the stage?
Yeah, flipping it. We've got
inflatable bottoms. I mean, come on, it's got to be good.
Yeah, that was an interesting group, wasn't it?
Well, there's always lots of lycra. I would have to say, sometimes appropriate, sometimes not so much. But there's always a lot going on. It's really good fun.
Right, okay, I'm going to wrap up now because I've gone way over time. But yeah, thank you everybody for your contributions and your photos, Mark. Keep putting those posts up because you are just star number one at the moment. So thank you very much for putting your adverts up for your festivals and stuff. Keep doing it. And Pete, same for you. Anything happening up there? Slam them on the side. Get them down.
There's loads. Yeah, we'll put a load up. Well, it's really lovely, as Mark says. Just especially if people are visiting, it's just really nice to know stuff's on, because most of the time there is no signpost. I remember like there's a big soup festa down the road. The first year there was nothing, right? No one would know it was going on. The second year they put an arrow with nothing on it, right? Just an arrow pointing somewhere, and that's about as much as it gets sometimes. So
it's like next month in Castella Branco we've got an air show.
Yeah, and no one knows.
Yeah.
But they also had one on what really cracked me up, right? They've got a tourist information centre in Castella Branco, and they have a big festival at the castle. Someone went up to ask them what was on that weekend, and the festival at the castle's on, and they didn't know. So it's not just like it's not just.
We've got to work on this. We've got to work on this.
It's nuts, yeah. It's
okay, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to call it quits there. And yeah, thanks for coming. And please, if you like the program, come again and join in. So have a good evening. And Peter might see you Friday at Man Cave.
Yeah, oh God, yeah, definitely. Yeah, we'll definitely be there. Yeah.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, good night. Have a good evening.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.
And